everyone, Adi Tambarambaa, also known as Tammy Porter. Thanks so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. Today I'm doing another fun art journal page using the newest release from Art by Marlene. So giving you some sneaks there, but I'll go through what I used. So I used the Gibberish stamp. I also used the latest, the new artist size journal. I've also used the little Color Swatch artist cards. I'll show you how I use them in the video. And some sticky quotes. I've also used white gesso, the large, extra large paper elements booklet, which is amazing. Must have if you haven't got your hands on that already. A whole stack of paints, of course the glue. And as far as the paints go, I've used Royal, Punk, Fuchsia, Ballet, and then I have also used lace, the gold glitter and the gold plated in the specialised paints. Then I've got Smurf, Ho Ho Ho, Glow and Envy. So the paints I haven't decided at this point. I filmed this a little bit after I created the video, so I will explain how I choose my colours. So a couple of stencils as well in there. Basically, I went through the art colour swatch cards and just selected one that grabbed my attention and thought I'm going to use this as the colours, like as my jumping off point for, you know, what colours to use in this page. So it's full of purples, reds, blues, and so I went through, and the first red thing I found in the extra large booklet is a couple of cute little ladybirds. I thought, well, they'll be perfect. And then I found some flowers, as you can see, that match kind of the flowers in the card, and so I pulled all those out, and that is what I'm at the moment is now when I'm choosing my colours. So I've started with like fuchsia, Smurf and Ho 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 as they're sort of the strongest colours in there, and I've grabbed the couple of greens. I do add a few as I go just to create depth, but you'll see that as I go along. I also whack a little bit of white gesso out because I might need to blend with some of those colours. That's just something I like to do when I create my backgrounds. So I'm keeping that colour swatch card there on the left just as my inspiration, just to keep checking back on the colours. I love that these colour swatch cards can be used in so many different ways. There's, you know, you can choose colours, you can get inspiration from the patterns. There's just so much. You can potluck, take them out, so much you can do. But I just thought I'll grab a simple card and use that as my jumping off point. Okay, so I whacked down some fuchsia at first. I started with a dry brush and I just did my 3 areas. So I always work in 3s. And I did, towards the end, mix it with a little bit of water just to help it spread a bit. We are having a very hot spell here in Australia. It is, you know, 38 to 40 degrees for days running, which is well over 100 Celsius, and it just means everything, the paint is almost dry as it hits the paint palette. So I'm having to add a little bit of water here and there. So I put my fuchsia down. I think I then went in with a little bit of Ho Ho Ho. Now I didn't use a lot. As you know, red's not one of my favourite colours to work with. But I put a hint of it in there again in 3 spots. And then I sort of filled in the gaps with the Smurf. And did come back with a little bit of fuchsia mixed with gesso just to get a bit of toning happening. Then I've come in with, first of all, I used that, it's got circles and some hexagons, one of the new stamps. And I did a little bit of stenciling coming out from the red, so the red and going over the other colours. Just again, didn't want to overpower, just in a couple of little spots. And then I've done the same with the Smurf with the hexagon stars. So I've whacked some of that down and then I've put down the stencil and I've pulled it up. So it's called reductive stenciling, and it just leaves you a little bit of that mark making. I don't want to cover the whole area. I just want hints here and there. Once that's done, I did add a little bit of punk, and that really helps lift blues and purples. It gives it a real oomph factor because it's one of the neons, and I did that in a couple of areas. And then I came in with a few little mark makings with my brush, just to cover the joins a little bit. Just some bits were being a little bit muddy and I just wanted to get rid of that. Then I've come in with a little bit of white over the top, which is lace, and I have just put down that circle stencil and done reductive stenciling to lift it off. So there's, you know, 2 or 3 different techniques, but this is generally how I create my backgrounds. So they begin where they look a little bit in the ugly stage. There's not a lot of depth to them. You can see where the paints join. It's not looking schmick. And you've just got to push through that stage, because it really is about layering, coming in and over the top of what you've already done, and making sure you leave a little patches of blank colour as well. You don't sort of want stenciling and mark making absolutely everywhere. You want to create interest and you want the eye to explore and to think, oh, how did she get that depth of colour? And often it's just layering and mark making and stenciling, all kind of around and on top of each other. So hopefully you can see now that it's starting to be more visually interesting. There's depth there. You know, there's some colours that are deeper than other colours, and that sort of draws your eye into the page. So what I'm doing here is a bit of royal, which is a really deep purple, and just going around the edge using my finger. But as I said, it was drying almost instantly, so I needed to add a bit of water to it just to help it, prevent it from drying and to make it workable and smooth. So now I'm trialing out my paper elements and thinking, where am I going to put them? So because I also, you heard me say I work in 3s. So, you know, 3 purples, 3 reds, 3 blues. I do the same with my elements. I've got 3 flowers and I'm creating 3 stems for them to go upon. So you can see in the card on the left, there's quite a bit of green in there, and I hadn't added green yet. So I knew I was going to add that with my focal images. So I eventually decided flowers would go kind of on the left and the ladybugs would go on the right hand side. So I have mixed with the paint, I mixed a little bit of envy and a little bit of glow, just to give a bit of definition, you know, like for it not to be flat colour, for it to have some shadowing and some interest. And then I've kind of plonked the paper element flowers down where I think they're going to go, and just simply drawn stems, grass and leaves coming off of them. And I do come in and layer them up and deepen them up a bit, but this is just kind of the basic beginning. And then I put grass and brush strokes all along the bottom just to create the grass for the ladybugs to sit upon. So now I've grabbed my sticky glue and I'm gluing down the elements. I think I forgot to mention that I pulled out a few leaves from the paper elements as well, and I love how they're all textured and patterned. So I try and match some of those in a moment using paint and paint markers. I kind of wish I didn't notice this until I was doing the voiceover, but it doesn't stand out off of that. I've got a blue sort of rubber mat underneath me, an aqua tealy colour, and it's kind of blending in with the paint colours. So sorry about that. If I'd realised, I might have put some white paper down or something just so you could see what I was doing a little bit more. So I've deepened up a few of the paints in the flowers. I always like to add a bit of oomph to them. The neons are perfect for this, particularly the punk in this one, because it just lifts those colours up. Okay, so now's where I use my markers to try and copy some of the leaves that I've used that are Marlene's from the book. So sometimes it takes a bit of fiddling. I love that these markers are really opaque, so you can go over them with other colours if you don't like what you have done. And it's just, this part is lots of playing. You can see here that I add some little white dashes to my my flower stems. Now, looking at it while I'm doing the voiceover, I actually quite like it. But I decided, as you can see here, to cover it up. But the beauty of it is you can see, you'll probably see that in the close-ups later, you can see a little bit of those lines peeking through. So it all adds to that layer of depth, and that feeling people look at it and think, oh, how did she do that? Because it just doesn't look flat and plonked on. And that's just part of building the layers, and with practice and trying a few things, and covering up a few things that perhaps you don't like or you change your mind on. It's all part of the learning of art journal. Some of the markers, and yeah, I'm quite happy with how it is coming across. So yeah, the markers are just used, so this bit's kind of correcting some of the lines that I don't like, and just filling in little gaps and just playing little white dots in the flowers and little highlights on the flowers. That does make quite a big difference to this page, just adding the white. I think every page that's full of colour needs a little bit of black and a little bit of white in it, just to balance it. So if you've come across me before, or you've met me and done some classes, or you've been watching my videos for a long time, you know that's something that I always say when working with lots of colour. Make sure you use some black and some white. So then I just used a Stabilo oil pencil to create a little bit of shadowing around some of the flowers and ladybirds, just to make them come forward off the page a little bit. And now I decide to add in some quote, and I use a couple of quotes from the Sticky Quotes book, and I can't remember what it says. It'll show you in the I think it's about being kind and helping each other out, because I was liking how those little ladybirds were on top of each other and supporting one another, and she was holding up her other ladybug friend so she could be the queen. So I've also added in a little bit of journaling into the ladybirds and the leaves, just some little thoughts I had around it as to what's happening in my life at the moment. And I scribbled around the quote as well with black pen. And the bit I have forgotten to mention, and I normally do this at a different point, is normally when I'm doing my background, I would come in with that Gibberish stamp and just add black ink and do a little bit of mark making. But I actually completely forgot that step. And it wasn't until I was sort of packing up the page a bit that I thought, oh, I was going to use that stamp. So it didn't matter. I've still managed to add a little bit around the edges of the page, and you can see them just adding to the layers as well. And because I don't put the stamp on a block, you can come back in later and do that. So I'll leave you with close-ups. This is a cute little page with those ladybirds. I really enjoyed using the colour swatches as a jumping off point for trying different colours and different colour combinations. So thanks for being here. As always, I would love to hear from you, and I hope this page inspires you to get creating. Bye.